All right, number 1, it says which expression is equivalent to 3 times x minus 4 squared? So when we look at this problem, I'm going to focus on the parentheses first. That that squared means that we're going to write the parentheses twice. Okay, so when I write the parentheses twice, that means that I'm going to multiply those two parentheses together. So we're going to use the box method just like we've done previously. And we're going to do x and negative 4, x and negative 4. So we have x and x, that's going to give me x squared. Then we have x and negative 4, that's going to give me negative 4x. All right, then we have x and negative 4 again, which is negative 4x. And then we have negative 4 is 16. Now, we need to combine like terms, so we have negative 4x and negative 4x. That's going to give me x squared minus 8x plus 16. Now, that answer is still not there because we still have, in the front of this parentheses here, this times 3. So we need to bring that 3 down, and we need to multiply it to the entire problem. So 3 times x squared is going to be 3x squared. 3 times negative 8x is going to give us negative 24x. And then 3 times 16 is going to give me 48. So when you do a problem like this, do the parentheses first, and then if there's anything in the front, then distribute that number. All right, number 2. So my main operation, number 2, it says to simplify, so I have subtraction. So when we have subtraction, go ahead and distribute that negative to everything in the parentheses. So when I rewrite this, this is going to be 4x squared minus 2x plus 8 plus, and that positive x squared is going to become negative x squared. That positive 3x is going to become negative 3x. And that negative 2 is going to be positive 2. And then we're going to combine like terms. So like terms, when we start here, we have 4x squared and negative 1x squared. So that's going to give me 3x squared. All right, then I have negative 2x and negative 3x, so negative 2 and negative 3 are going to give me negative 5x. And then finally, we have positive 8 and positive 2 are going to give me 10, making my correct answer D. All right, so for this one, we have the perimeter of a triangle. So the perimeter is given, and we have 2 sides. So one of the sides is 2x plus 5, and the other is 3x squared minus 3. How long is the third side? So the key thing here is we're finding the third side, the missing third side. So I'm going to draw a shape and actually label some things. It doesn't matter how you label it. It just kind of gives you that visual to make sure that you're looking for that missing third side. So I have 2 of the sides, and I'm looking for this third side. I also know that the perimeter of the entire triangle is 17x squared plus 3x minus 5. So we're going to start by adding to the 2 sides. So if we add the 2 sides, that's going to give me the ability to then subtract those 2 sides to find what's left over. So we have 2x plus 5 plus 3x squared minus 3. All right, so we only have one set of like terms here, and that's going to be the 5 and the negative 3. So this is going to be 3x squared plus 2x, and then 5 and negative 3 is going to be plus 2. So again, that is the sum of the 2 sides together. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to do the perimeter. So we're going to take the perimeter and we're going to subtract the 2 sides. All right, so remember my initial perimeter was 17x squared plus 3x minus 5. And we're going to subtract the 2 sides, which is 3x squared plus 2x plus 2. And then it kind of goes back to the previous problem for number 2 where we have subtraction. So with that subtraction, we're going to go ahead and distribute. So we make sure we don't make any mistakes with the subtraction. So I have 17x squared plus 3x minus 5 plus that positive 3x squared is going to become negative 3x squared. Positive 2x becomes negative 2x. Positive 2 becomes negative 2. Now, at this point, we're going to combine our like terms. So we have 17x squared and negative 3x squared. That's going to give us 14x squared. All right, then we're going to have 3x and negative 2x. So 3 minus 2 is going to give me 1x, or just x. And then finally, we have negative 5 and negative 2 to make it negative 7. So my correct answer here is B. All right, so for number 4, so it says determine the area. So I have a rectangle. So when I'm looking at this, I can see that this full shape is my rectangle. Now, in order to find my rectangle, I can do the area is going to be the length times the width. Now, we know the width. The width here is simply 2x. But when we look at the length, we need to combine our lengths together. So we have a length of 4x and we have a length of 2y. So we need to combine those together to make it 4x plus 2y. So if I kind of redrew this picture, if I drew it as just that solid side, that would be 2x and this would be 4x plus 2y because we can't combine them together. So now we're just going to multiply the length times the width. So we're going to do 2x times 4x plus 2y. We're going to multiply the length and the width together. So we do 2x times 4x, that's going to give me 8x squared. And then 2x times 2y is going to give me 4xy, making my correct answer A. All right, so for this next one, they give us Drew made and sold ceramic vases for 1 week. P stands for the profit he will make after he takes the revenue and subtracts the cost. So they're giving us the formula here. P equals R minus C. Now, in this particular situation, we know R. R is 25x minus 0.05x squared. We also know C. Okay, so we know C is this one. So we just need to calculate this problem. So we're going to do R. So remember, R is 25x minus 0.5x squared. And we're going to subtract, and we're going to do C. So 4x squared minus 100 plus 5x. Now, after we do this, we are going to distribute that negative. So distribute the negative to everything in the parentheses. So that gives me 25x minus 0.5x squared plus negative 4x squared plus 100 minus 5x. And then we're going to combine those like terms. So like terms that we have here, we have negative 0.5x squared and negative 4x squared. That's going to give me negative 4.5x squared. All right, so then we have 25x and negative 5x, so that's going to give me positive 20x. And then finally, the plus 100, we're just going to bring down to make our correct answer C. All right, so for number 6, they give us the formula for a trapezoid, and they say to find that area. So we're looking for the area. Now, the key here is what pieces go where. So we have our base 1 and base 2. So they identify base 1 and base 2 are x minus 3 and x plus 7. They also identify that the height, my h, is 4. So I just really need to plug it into the formula. So my area equals 1/2 the height, which is 4, times my base 1 is x minus 3, plus my base 2 is x plus 7. So let's kind of simplify here. So we have 1/2 of 4, that's going to give me 2. And then right here, I'm going to combine x and x. I'm going to add those together and make 2x. And then I have negative 3 and 7 are going to make positive 4. And then at this point, we would just need to distribute. So x equals 4x plus 8. And that's my area. All right, so number 7, it says the quadrilateral shown below has these vertices. So when I'm looking at these vertices, I would, if I'm using graph paper, obviously with my EOC, it's going to be a line, so I'm going to regraph that. It said find the area. So we can see that this area is a rectangle. Okay, so in this rectangle, we're going to find the length and the width. So I need to find a length and I need to find a width. Okay, so we're going to do Pythagorean theorem. So we're going to start here and we're going to count our spaces. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 spaces. So this is 8. All right, then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So again, we have 8. So for the pink side, to find our Pythagorean theorem, remember Pythagorean theorem is a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So this is going to be 8 squared plus 8 squared equals c squared. And that's going to be 64 plus 64 equals c squared. And if I add 64 together and 64, that's going to give me 128. Now, this is the super important step here. And in this step, you need to make sure that you take the square root, because that's the inverse of squared. So if I take the square root of 128, I get C is approximately 11.3. Okay? So I know that one side is 11.3. Now I'm going to do the same thing for this other triangle. So we're going to make the other right triangle. So this side has 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this one has 4 and 4. All right, so we're going to do 4 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared, which is going to be 16 plus 16 equals c squared. All right, so if we add 16 and 16, that's going to give me 32 equals c squared. And then we're going to take the square root. All right, so to finalize that, we find that C equals 5.7. So we have our length and we have our width, so we're going to do 11.3. All right, so 11.3 and 5.7, we're going to multiply those together. So 11.3 times 5.7, we get 64.4, which is approximately 64 units squared. All right, so number 8. It says a quadrilateral has these vertices. What best represents this figure? So obviously in this situation, I would use my graph paper that was provided to me. I'm actually going to add some graph paper here. All right, so the problem said that we have, in my graph paper, and again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So we have -3 and -5. So I'm going to go to -3, -5. All right, there's my first point. Then I have -3, -2. All right, then I have 0, 0. And then I have 2, -1. Now, if I connect all these pieces together here, so I can see that 1, based off of what it's saying, so a rhombus is a square that's sideways. So if I'm looking at this, a rhombus has more of a slanted square, but all the sides are the same. That's not the same figure. A rectangle, okay, has 4 right angles. That does not have 4 right angles. So the last is a trapezoid. So how do I know a trapezoid? A trapezoid has a set of parallel sides, and it only has one set. So the answer here is C. All right, number 9, it says the side lengths of a square. So we have a square here. As best of my ability that I can draw it. All right, and it said that one of the sides is 4x cubed y z to the 4th. What is the area? So remember, to find the area of a square, we're going to do length times width. So if this side is 4x cubed y z to the 4th, then this one is also the same. So this is 4x cubed y z to the 4th. Now, one of the things I do want to point out is x has an exponent of 3, and z has an exponent of 4. So what is the exponent of y? Well, since we don't see it, it's automatically a 1. All right, so we're going to do 4x cubed y to the 1st, z to the 4th, times 4x cubed y to the 1st, z to the 4th. And then we're just going to multiply our pieces together. So 4 and 4, that's going to give me 16. So I can go ahead and get rid of a and b. Now, remember, when we multiply, we add our exponents together. So we have x to the 3rd and x to the 4th. So we add that, and it's going to make x to the 6th. All right, then we have y to the 1st, y to the 1st. That's going to add together and make y squared. And then finally, we have z to the 4th and z to the 4th. That's going to make z to the 8th, making our correct answer C. All right, so for the last problem, it says if B is a midpoint between A, which is at 1, 4, and C is 3, 8, E is the midpoint between these other 2 points, approximate the distance of BE. So really, we most definitely want to draw a figure here. So I'm just going to screenshot this. And I'm going to add this picture in just a second. So we have some graph paper. All right, so when I add that graph paper, we can graph it just like we would if it were your graph paper on your exam. So again, we're going to start with B is the midpoint. Midpoint means middle. So we have A is at 1, 4. So let's go ahead and let's make this a little bit bigger. All right, so let's make our coordinate plane. Okay, so 1, 4. There's 1, 4, and that's going to be A. Then we have C. C is located at 3, 8. So 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So here's C at 3, 8. So let me actually move some of these headings around. All right, so let's do that. A is at 1, 3, so we can see everything. Now, again, we know that we have a midpoint, so B is the midpoint. So from here to here, let me change colors. Here to here, we have a midpoint, and that midpoint from there to there is we're going to call B, okay? Now, it says E is the midpoint of these other 2 points. So I have 2 more points, and my other 2 points, so I have at 3, negative 1. All right, so 3, negative 1 is at D. We have 3, negative 1. And then F is at 5, 1. So we're going to go to 5, positive 1. So that's F. And we have a midpoint from here to here, okay? And we're going to assume that that midpoint is kind of the general location, and that one's called E. Now, what they want is they want us to find the distance between B and E. Well, how do we find that distance? Well, the first thing we got to do is we got to find the midpoint and where it's located, okay? So if I'm going to find that distance, well, actually, in order to find the distance, we got to make sure that point is where it should be. And once we know the point is correct, then we can do our Pythagorean theorem. All right, so midpoint here, remember we add up our x's, so midpoint formula is x1 plus x2 divided by 2, then y1 plus y2 divided by 2 for midpoint. All right, so for B, I know I'm going to do 1 plus 3 divided by 2, and then 3 plus 8 divided by 2. All right, so that's going to be 4 divided by 2 is 2. 3 plus 8, that's going to give me 11, and divide that by 2, All right, so I did just realize that I made a mistake here. So in this particular, I labeled it 1, 3, but it should have been 1, 4. So therefore, that's going to change this to 4. So now that makes that 12 divided by 2 is at 2, 6. And I can concur that this is located at 2, 6, which is B. All right. All right, so now we're going to do E over here. So we're going to do 3 plus 5 divided by 2. And then negative 1 plus 1 divided by 2. So 3 plus 5 is 8, divided by 2 is 4. Negative 1 plus 1 is 0, divided by 2 is 0. And I can see that that is located at 4, 0. So we have the correct points here. So we want to find the distance between B and E. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to do Pythagorean theorem. So let's go ahead and set up our right triangle, okay? So in my right triangle, I have 2 on this side and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this side. So we have 2 squared plus 6 squared equals C squared. So we have 4 plus 36 equals C squared, which is going to be 40 equals C squared. Now, when we take the square root of both sides, 40 is going to be approximately 6.3. So if we round to the nearest unit, 0.3 is going to round down, so the answer here is going to be C.